I mean, he's going to be doing it.
He might try to put some tourniquet on me or something like that.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be very educational.
Do you have room for me?
Good morning and welcome to Today in LA. I'm Mike Amos. I hope you're doing well this morning on a Friday, the 18th day of May. And
Virginia Green Nowling, good morning.
Go ahead, Kyle.
Kyle George.
Kyle George with Troy University, and we've got a great show for you. Sorry we had a little technical difficulties this morning, but we're ready to go now, and on a real pleasant morning. Anytime you have this kind of temperature early in the morning. Of course, we got a rain last night, Kyle George, and something happened at the university that doesn't happen much in baseball. We got rained out.
That's correct. So we had the opening game against South Alabama last night, pushed back to today. So it'll be a doubleheader today, starting at 3 o'clock. So
boy, that's going to
3
be fun.
o'clock and 6 o'clock being those game times, and then Saturday's the last game at 6 o'clock. So big series for us though, taking on South Alabama, big rivalry series as well too.
And thank goodness both schools are out. It was not hard to change the date on that. And in fact, I'm sure both coaches were sort of elated. Give their pitchers another day. Give their pitchers another day to rest. Is that right?
Certainly. Gives another day for rest. And from our side of things, too, you're just glad you don't start a game and stop it. It's easier just to go ahead and start the whole thing and run it all the way through. Yeah. So we're hopefully going to have some good games this weekend. We'll see how the weather cooperates with us this week, but it should be a fun weekend. Mike,
can you believe that they rained out a Troy baseball game?
Yeah, I turned it on last night about 7:40, and I heard Barry McKnight saying they were going to play 2 tomorrow. So I guess that's definitely Troy's advantage. Is South Alabama having to stay in a hotel, and our players are getting to sleep in their own beds. I wouldn't think they would have driven back to Mobile last night, but I guess they could have since the game didn't start back till 3 today. I don't know. I'd be interested to know what they ended up doing. But I was going to tell you, your favorite golfer, your guy with the ponytails leading the Regis.
Oh, no. Please don't tell me. Please don't tell me.
Angel Jimenez.
I put in for some tickets to Saturday's deal, Mike. Hopefully somebody will come up with me some, you think?
I could have got you. We could have got you free tickets left and right. You don't remember your daughter used to run that golf tournament?
Oh, I know it. Well, I mean, maybe we can still do it. No question about
it. We used to have dinner with the players.
Yeah, I know it. I used to actually, my daughter used to work from home.
Of all surprises is Jerry Pate, who hadn't done anything in years, shot 67 yesterday.
Well, let me tell you this. That's who I will want to watch if I was up there, to watch Jerry Pate, former Alabama golfer, and of course, there we are, awfully good looking this morning with Mike. Have you ever seen one of Burton Green's girls that didn't look good?
Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I grew up with Sally. I didn't know, Ginger and Emily as well.
Well, Sally and her bunch, and Camille and her bunch are going.
They're all going to the lake.
You're going to be at the lake now. It's a different lake than Kyle's more involved in this lake than a lot of folks.
They're going to Smith Lake up around Jasper.
Smith Lake. You ever been to Smith Lake, Mike?
I have been there. Yes, sir.
A lot of Birmingham folks go to Smith Lake, don't they?
Yes, sir.
Well, I mean, the majority go to Lake Martin, but Smith Lake's really pretty up there. It's really pretty water, and it's only about an hour north. It's not bad.
Are they going this weekend?
Yeah.
Going this weekend.
Sally will be in town today.
Good. Okay.
And of course, it's just they get together. The Turner girl, this is Caroline at her place.
Caroline and her husband have a lake house, and then they have a beach house in Apalachicola. So they're living high.
Kyle might know her husband, who is the attorney.
He's the University of Alabama lawyer, Jay Ezel.
Is he just for athletics or for the whole university? Thank you so much.
For athletics.
I'll tip you later, yeah. What now, Mike?
For athletics.
Yeah, for athletics. And did you tell him who he was? Did you?
I didn't recognize the name there.
Yeah.
I can't remember his name.
Well, he is a strong member of the University of Alabama's athletic. Well, he's their attorney. What I'm saying, and he married a Troy girl,
mm-hmm. Caroline Turner,
and they have a lot of fun together. That group of folks in Birmingham, and like you said, you go to Smith Lake. It's probably the clearest lake, Mike, maybe the cleanest lake in Alabama, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's pretty clean. I mean, late March pretty clean too. But it's
I don't think it drops quite as much as some of the lakes, too. During the
it's definitely a little bit more mountainous up there too, a little bit more
a
hilly.
little deeper, no question about it.
Where is it located?
It's located above Jasper.
Okay.
Isn't that right?
I believe so. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's right.
Kyle George is, I guess,
So,
along with.
what's the plan for Troy today as far as weather? Have y'all checked the weather forecast? It's like 50% chance of rain up here in Birmingham.
30% chance down here.
It looks like most of that storm system's moving north, which is good for us.
Yeah.
I know
The big issue was lightning though last night, wasn't it?
that was part of it. We had lightning. We had lightning the other night too against Auburn. That's what we had part of that.
Oh, I know it.
long delay
I sat through that one at Auburn, but I was there when Joey Dennison hit that huge home run. You wouldn't believe how far that ball went out of there. That was
Right.
a
He
400.
had a moonshot there. We're looking forward to. So we're playing a double today, starting at 3:00. And Joey's one of those key guys, a Troy senior for us from here in
Yeah.
Troy as well. So these are his last home games. So he wants
Yeah.
to go out with a bang for sure. And he's leading the conference in 7 statistical categories right now, batting over 400, and on pace to potentially break the school's single-season RBI record. So it's a great team that we've got. Really need everybody to come out there this weekend.
No
for these
question
games.
about it. I see him, and he was a great athlete in high school. Played linebacker on Charles Simpson, some of their good teams, and it didn't surprise me that he became such a good baseball player. This is a good baseball team, 36-17 going into this series. How many do you think we got to win to get an at-large bid, at least an at-large bid to the tournament?
That's the tricky part here. That's why we want to get these games in, because not only is it for conference tournament seeding, but there's a chance to get closer to what kind of seems like that magical number of 40 wins. If we can get a chance to get the 40 wins between these games as well as in the conference tournament, we feel pretty good about our chances there. And after that win against Auburn, you're seeing a lot of the prognosticators putting us back into the field. So either way, it's been a great season. You control what you control, so hopefully we can go out there and win these games.
We went into the Auburn game with a 40 APR, or what was it?
Just beneath. I think we're at 44 going into it. We've just cracked into the top 40 now.
And how many Division I programs are there? 300, aren't they? Baseball and baseball.
Yes, sir. And the good thing for us, too, is that the Sun Belt Conference has been one of those better conferences all season long. We've ranked anywhere from top 5 to top 7 throughout the entire season. You get teams like Coastal Carolina and Louisiana Lafayette. South Alabama is a very good program as well, too. So
fantastic.
It's been a good baseball year for everybody in our league.
No question about it. Virginia Green Nowling is also our guest today, as she is on Thursdays and on Fridays, or whenever we can get her in
Sometimes
here.
Wednesday, sometimes
Because
Fridays. It just kind of
she's the
depends.
judge. Here comes the judge. Here comes the
We
judge.
saw your husband at Sisters the other day.
He told me. He told me he had 4 refills that day.
I tell you what,
Well, he doesn't. You don't feed him at home. I mean, you're too busy politicking.
I'm a little busy right now, so I'll just send him to Sisters and Julia's and.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
working over at Highland Home High School, and they tell me to take all these shortcuts from Highland Home to
Oh yeah.
Troy, and I always end up somehow on Shellhorn Road.
All
I'm
roads
only
lead
back
to
to Troy,
Shellhorn
so
Road.
Well, you
That's
know,
right.
when you're on Shellhorn
That's
Road,
right.
you're halfway there. And look, that's the winners of the Teal Award just came in, so we're gonna have fun with them this morning too. So we got a full house. Want to mention, of course, some other sports. Softball's through,
Yes, sir, they are.
but they gave it a good fight.
They
Didn't
really did. Softball went as the number 4 seed for the tournament. Beat South Alabama, which is always a good thing for us. And went toe-to-toe with Texas State in several games during that tournament, the number 1 overall seed. Almost found their way in that conference championship game. So really a strong year. Track and field had a great finish as well, too. And it was just announced yesterday that we finished 3rd overall in the Bubas Cup standing, which was for the top overall calendar year
That's wonderful,
for Sun Belt
Total
Conference.
athletics.
So that's one of our highest finishes we've had. So the totality of all of our programs this year has
And
been
that,
fantastic.
boy, I tell you, hoorah!
What about
That was
football
great.
season tickets? How many of those have you sold already?
Been going really well. We've been much further ahead of where we were this time last year. Obviously, the excitement around the team has been a huge part of that. But we've been really excited to get out there and get our fans ready to fill that stadium, especially with the North End Zone complex coming online here shortly. That building's going to be fantastic for everybody to see. You can't miss it when you're driving down George Wallace.
You know, we
there.
did
It's
the
great.
Charles Simpson football game the other night from the stadium, and of course they didn't have the scoreboard up. But buddy, what a great look it is to look down from the scoreboard or from that angle and see that wonderful addition to our stadium, and it just further enhances our program. Don't you agree?
September 1st against Boise State. That's going to be a fun atmosphere to be a part
no
of.
question.
Want to make sure everybody's out there to be a part of that atmosphere. And as you mentioned earlier, the season tickets, just $60 for it costs for all 6 home games. So you can go online to TroyTrojans.com/tickets.
Mike, we're back to Titletown. Back to Titletown. Everybody knows where Titletown is. Downtown Brantley. They win it again. And Kyle, they've got a pitcher at Brantley that's coming to Troy. And she's supposed to be one of the best in the country.
So they won softball or they won baseball?
They won softball, Mike. The girls softball team won again. And, of course, they won so many championships, Kyle, that we call Brantley Titletown. They used to call it the Front Porch City, but now they call it Titletown. And again, what a wonderful program they've got, and a big win coached by Cindy Hawthorne. And so they're jumping, or like I said, they're dancing in the streets of old Titletown, Brantley, Alabama.
If Wesley Person makes it to the pros, they could have 3 persons that play in the NBA.
Wouldn't that be something? No question about it. And
Chuck Wesley Sr. and then Wesley Jr.
Yeah, Mike, they finished. Bless their hearts, they finished 53-4.
Oh.
Those 4 games, man. That's tough.
That's a lot. I hope they played a lot of double hitters, man. That's a lot of games.
That is. They won the title with a 5-1 win over Summerton Christian, and congratulations. A good picture of Anna Catherine Kimbrough, and I bet that's Low Max Kimbrough's granddaughter, running first to pick up that wonderful trophy. And again, we applaud Brantley High School for another great victory and another great visit to Titletown, and we're proud of them, and even more proud of that pitcher that's coming to Troy. And you've been around softball enough, in your day, Kyle. Pitching has a lot to do with it in softball.
Pitching definitely does, and we're fortunate where Beth Mullins, our head coach, has really made that an emphasis. She had Annie Willis, the freshman pitcher of the year in the Sun Belt Conference past year. So looking forward to how softball continues to keep getting better each year over there.
And of course, great facility, and they do it as well as anybody, wouldn't you say?
Certainly do. It's a good team we've got. I know we had a great run to close out the season. Had, I think, 38 wins in the season, so a great season for us. Looking forward to hopefully make another big step next year.
No question about it. It's going to be great.
Any Alabama fans out there that didn't get to go to Jerry World a few years ago when Alabama beat USC by about 50, Alabama's to play USC again in 2020 in Jerry World. Alabama's guaranteed $6 million to play that game.
And they're going to play in Jerry World, okay. I noticed, though, a bunch of games that Alabama's playing, Alabama is just funding Southern Miss's program, aren't they? I mean, it looks like they're going to pay them. It looks like they're going to pay them close to $2 million. Did you read that the other day?
I did see that come up.
I mean, and they won't play Troy, but they'll play all these other teams, and that don't. I say leave those tax dollars in Alabama.
I mean, Southern Miss and Alabama is almost a traditional game, though, Dad. You got to admit that game's been played 25 times.
Oh, I know it, and I wish.
I don't know how many Alabama Southern Miss games I've been to.
Yeah, no question, and of course they're very competitive too at times.
I saw them at Legion Field one night, beat Alabama by 20.
Yeah, but I will say this: congratulations to Long High School of Skipperville, Michael. They win another state championship in baseball.
Yeah, well, man, it's one of those things where they've won more state championships than anybody in the history of Alabama.
Yeah, no question about it.
I don't know what they have in the water down there around Skipperville, but it's pretty good.
And those boys, the coaches both played here at Troy. And they're really outstanding, no question about it. Okay. Double header today, ladies and gentlemen. You talking about this is as good a baseball as you're going to find at the college level. Don't you agree?
Certainly. These are two teams coming in.
Troy's program is as good as anybody's.
And I think we proved that this year. There's chances we've had against Auburn, Mississippi State, other programs we play. Their seniors are top-notch teams in the country.
Sure.
We've gone toe-to-toe, if not we even won those games.
That's right.
So really excited about it. I think we have a good pitching staff, a great offense. But guys like Matt Sanders, Andrew Crane, Joey Dennison, those are some of those key senior leaders that these are their last chances to play at home. This
I tell you right now, Mike. And there's been some great lineups at Troy over the years, and I've seen them play, and there's been some great ones. But to lead off with Matt Sanders, who is as good as anybody's ever played at shortstop.
4-year starter there.
4-year starter and fixing to break all kinds of run records for the country, I think.
Already broke the Troy single season record as well.
And of course, and then the number 2 batter is our third baseman,
Drew Frederick.
Drew Frederick, Mike, who is the fastest man on the team. I always thought that the other kid was the fastest, but they say
Lockridge.
Frederick.
Yeah.
They said Frederick can outrun Lockridge.
I'd
That
say
is real fast.
If you're looking at the team and who's improved the most, I'd put you at Drew Frederick right there. He came in last year.
That was a big
freshman.
big hit to win the game against Auburn. Don't you agree?
He did. And he's really improved his bat this year. He had a great glove all last year. When we put him at the 2-hole there to start the season, wasn't quite sure how he respond, but he took a lot of time and effort last summer to get better. So he's really stepped up.
And
for
then
us.
Dennison comes up behind them, and Dennison just tearing the cover off the ball from right here in Troy, and of course has.
It's amazing he has that many RBIs. 66 RBIs, only 4 home runs.
That is.
That's the only thing that Troy doesn't have is power.
Well, what they do have is maybe
a lot of hits to score.
Yeah, maybe a
They
nation.
score a lot.
Yeah, maybe a national record for triples, isn't it? How many triples so far?
I know we have set the school season record. Brandon Lockridge set the individual career record as well too. And we're very
triples
close.
in Troy's ballpark's not a huge ballpark.
I think we've had 17 on the season.
It's
one of those
unreal.
where it's a lot of timely hitting, it's a lot of speed. As you mentioned earlier, we don't necessarily have a whole lot of home runs up and down that lineup, which is a little surprising, but it just shows you get some good hitters that they get the right hit when you need it.
Yeah, no
it's
question
been very
about it.
fortunate for us all season
It's
long.
interesting. They changed the bats several years ago, and I don't know if it's helped the game or hurt the game. I used to love how you had so many home runs in college baseball, but man, those bats, you really got to hit it on the sweet spot to get it out.
You got to be a good hitter to make sure you get it all the way out.
And then Lothridge, your 4-man, if I'm correct. And
Correct.
Lothridge is a 4-man. Those are the 4 as good a baseball players that played at Troy, Mike, and probably the fastest 4 that we've ever had on the field at Troy. Don't you agree? The first 4 guys.
Absolutely, had some great speed. I know I was talking to Coach Bobby Pierce a few weeks ago, and he was pointing out the number of steals up and down the entire lineup. It's not just those top 4. You got guys like Rigsby Mosley in the 5-hole.
And now this guy Rigby Mosley is on fire, and he's the 5th man in order. Troy's first 5 guys are as good as anybody's.
Certainly, we're really
This
fortunate.
Rigby Mosley,
look
Mike,
at Chase
is really
Smart the other
good.
night. If he get his back coming around, he went 3 for 4. Chase starts hitting. I mean, the sky's the limit.
Can you believe Chase Smart is batting under 200? Which
He's
is
coming around.
above 200 now.
He's above 200 now.
but you look at his
he's had a great
production
year,
now.
too.
His production has been pretty good. He just hasn't hit for average, you know.
They
He
don't
has
talk
been.
about Brody Bender. Brody Bender's a guy that really didn't get to play a whole lot until his senior year, and he's really contributed.
Well, I'll tell you something else, and Coach Smart's made a lot of good decisions, but when he pinch hit for the kid, what's his name?
Cole Presticard.
Yeah,
came in.
Presticard, Mike, had been in, hadn't been playing in the last 5, 6, 7 games, and he pinch hit Presticard and bang, he wins the game
Hits
for you.
that double to bring in 2, and Prescott hadn't had an at-bat until April 28th.
Yeah.
He'd been on the bench for a while. Kudos to Prescott for keeping mentally sharp and staying in the ball game.
No question about it. But what we're saying is, this is as good a baseball, college baseball, you're going to find anywhere in the country. It all starts today, 3 o'clock, with a doubleheader from Riddle Pace Field, and then, of course, another single game on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
And I will tell you, we need to get out and support the Troy baseball team because this is some very, very tough action.
I know who Riddle was. Who was Pace? Was Dr. Pace like a teacher or?
He was. They named the street after him, Pace Street. But yeah, he was one of the first. I think he was a president, one of the first presidents at Troy.
Pace Hall.
Yeah, Pace Hall and all that. Yeah, and it's as nice a complex as you'll find. Isn't that right?
Certainly. I love ball games at Riddle Pace Field. It makes it's easy for the fans to come out there and get a chance to enjoy the atmosphere. You're right there on top of the action.
And all those
It's a
folks
great
that
ballpark.
want to let the
But
kids
they
run
still
around
play
left field.
the sound of glass breaking during games when foul balls go out.
No, they don't do that as much. They used to.
We got some other sound effects there, but we do still have that one as well.
Yeah, I like the chainsaw when they strike somebody out. Wham, wham, wham. And but that was a lot of fun too. All right, ladies and gentlemen, get ready, and of course, want to bring the kids out. It's going to be a great baseball weekend. Take the afternoon off today. I promise you, you'll love this ball game. Of course, now with school out, we're looking forward to football, and I thought everything just seems to be rolling pretty good right now. I think Coach Brown likes his team, don't you think?
He does. I think there's always things when you come out of spring you want to keep working on, and that's, as he says too, we're not a finished product right now. You don't want to be a finished product yet. You want to be at your best when you get to the season. And I think seeing the quarterback competition play out, that's going to be something that's going to be a key part for us throughout summer practice here for us and getting into the fall. But you look at the returners we have on both sides of the ball. We have some great players coming back this year.
No question. So, and then
I'd be really curious to see how many tickets Boise fans ended up buying. Like how many they'll bring to this game. You think there'll be a couple hundred, 300 Boise fans?
I'm sure we'll have a couple. You know, it's not going to be a huge contingent of Boise fans necessarily coming down, but I might be surprised. But we're going to do everything we can to make sure it's filled up in Cardinal.
You know, right now you're talking to people that want to hear us in Shanghai, China, or in Anchorage, Alaska.
We're
now
all
we're
over
on the air. Right now we're on the air in Paris, France. So hey, you can spread the news quickly on Facebook.
That's why we call Mike Mr. Worldwide here.
Oh yeah, and of course you can.
Is that why Troy's an international university? You're an international.
That's right. Well, they can. You're right. I need to start bringing more of those kids on our show. They say, look, Mama's watching in China or wherever. But we're just proud of what we've got here, and it's a program that really is on the go, isn't it?
It always is. It always is. Thanks for having all of us on at all times here.
Yeah, exactly. And we appreciate you this morning. And of course, you can buy your tickets ahead of time from the ticket office. Or when is the ticket box open at the stadium?
So the box office at Real Pace Field will open today at 2 o'clock. Game time's at 3 o'clock. So we'll be over the field all day long. If you want to swing by Trojan Arena, the ticket office will be open as well too. So anyway, we'll make sure we take care of everybody, help them out with getting their tickets. It's going to be a fun weekend all weekend.
It'll be a great weekend. Thank you so much
for being with us. Are y'all charging all those guys out in the outfield to sit out there?
Nice to meet you as well.
No, they don't charge them in the outfield. That's a free seat, isn't it?
Come on inside. Come on
yeah,
inside.
That's right. I'd rather be in there where the action is. You're right. No question about it. Ginger,
Yes,
tell
sir.
us where you're going to be this weekend.
Whew, I'm going to be campaigning. I'm going to be knocking on doors, and you may find one of these in your door if you're not home. I wanted to point out I have a friend who called me the other day and said,
Thank you.
thank you, said, I saw your commercial, but it goes so fast that I can't read the
Yeah.
writing on it. And so I thought if I had a minute, I could just tell
Yeah,
you
do
what
that
it
real
says.
quick.
It says I was born in Troy, obviously. I'm a 1987 graduate of Charles Henderson High School. You need to get that?
Well, we can. Mike gonna put you on hold a minute. Good morning, you on Today in L.A. How you doing? Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
Good morning.
Hey, Faith. How you doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. Y'all were talking about my school, and Matthew Downer Pace was our president in 1936
That's
to
right.
37.
I felt like he was one of our presidents. Of course, Faith West Ward's on the line, the president of the National Alumni Association, and I know that our new alumni chapter folks are at record pace, aren't we?
Absolutely, and we're just inviting everybody to join or renew in the month of May and get a free gift, and we're excited about what's going on with Troy. I heard y'all talking about baseball, and again, I want to invite everybody to come out today and support the Trojans. We've got to beat Sweet South these next 3 games.
I can't think of a better time to take off work at noon and go get a good lunch and come on out to the ballpark and and beat somebody you love to beat.
Absolutely.
I love to beat
Absolutely.
South Alabama, and that's a compliment to them. And but let me just say this: we're Troy, and I'm ready to get after them, aren't you?
I am too. I couldn't be prouder. And just want to mention one other thing, Mike. Festival at the Well in Glenwood this weekend.
Oh, yeah, that's big, too. That starts at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning in Glenwood, and I promise you, you'll love it. It is a wonderful place to be.
Yes, you will. Have a
Hey,
great day. And,
Coach
I'll talk to you soon.
Coach Daniels' granddaughter won the Tip Collie Award last night. She's going to be on there in a minute. She's going to be a lovely student at Troy next year. Hey, she got so many scholarships last night that she had to have a wheelbarrow to get them out.
Oh, my goodness.
That's wonderful.
Well, congratulations. But that's how us Crenshaw Countyans are, you know.
Hey, nothing too good for Coach Glenn Daniel. And, of course, he knew who Johnny Teal was. He coached against him. And of course, what a great man. And I know he's awfully proud of his
great man.
granddaughter.
He was my daddy's football coach, and he loved my daddy, and my daddy loved him.
Well, he'll be on there. They'll be on there in just a moment. We're going to take a short break now. Before we take a break, Faith, how can they get go ahead and mail in their dues?
Okay, they can come by the Alumni House today, anytime between 8 and 5, or any day of the week, weekday between 8 and 5. They can go online to www.troy.edu/alumni. They can sign up there, or they can mail dues to 100 Highland Avenue, Troy, Alabama 36082. And I'm here at the office already, so I'll be ready to take their call anytime.
Well, let me just say this. All right, they could have gotten a free meal, a wonderful meal outside at the stadium when we played Auburn. Would have been free with your card. And every home football game, our tailgate area. And I mean, we have great food from barbecues to fish fries to whatever. Yeah, I mean, we have wonderful food at our tailgate area with your dues that you pay every year, or with that card you pay every year. You eat free before every Troy football game, home and away. So that's all. You get your money back over and over.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Mike, for what
one
you're
other
doing.
thing, I
And
will
go
while
Troy.
you're on the air, I make it easy for me and my family. I'm a lifetime member of the Troy University Alumni Association. So I don't ever have to worry about paying dues.
That's right.
And my card's going to get me free food, and it's also going to get me 20% off any time of the year from Barnes & Nobles, and that's a huge saving right there.
That's correct. That's correct. You can go down there right now this morning as soon as they open and get something for 20% off with
And
your
another
membership
very
card.
important thing, buy a Troy tag and show your allegiance. I'm for Troy, and I couldn't be prouder, and I'm going to show it on the back of my truck that I love
Ride
Troy
that truck
University.
to the Troy versus South game, so that ensures that everybody knows you're a Trojan.
Yeah, no question about it. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
All right, Virginia, did you finish reading?
No, I was just going to say on my commercial, there's writing on my
Yeah.
commercial, but it's a 30-second commercial, so it kind of goes
Yeah.
fast. And so for those of you who don't have Facebook, and this person that called me, they're not on Facebook.
Sure.
And so they couldn't go and just read about me. So on the screen, it just says that I'm born in Troy, 1987 graduate of Charles Henderson High School, graduate of Auburn University. I'm married to Blake Nowling, and I have a stepson named Braden. I'm a member of Old Lebanon Baptist Church. I clerked at the Alabama Court of Civil Appeals throughout my career.
Yeah.
I also served as an assistant district attorney. I prosecuted the domestic violence docket at the city of Montgomery. I'm also a drug court attorney. Kind of goes kind of fast. In 30 seconds, how you get on it?
Well, I'm just saying that you're highly qualified for this job.
Well, I practice in criminal and family law.
Yeah.
And I'm a member of the Rotary Club, Exchange Club, and I'm on the Save a Life Board.
All
So
right.
get all that in 30 seconds.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what it is.
Exactly right.
So-
And I tell you.
and hopefully we'll get to your house this weekend and leave one of these on your door, or hand one to you if you're at home, if you're not at a baseball game.
And they would like to get in touch with you or call you, and how can they reach you?
They can call me, 334-399-4855 is my cell phone. Please feel free to call me or text me on that number, or you can go to Facebook, to my Facebook page, and learn more about me. There's several articles you can read at Virginia Green Nowling for District Court Judge, Pike County District Court Judge.
One of these guys that is fixing to come on the show, you've known him all his life, haven't you?
I remember when he was born.
No question about it. We're going to bring in right after this, ladies and gentlemen, the two winners of last night's Johnny Till Award, and we're awfully pleased to have them with us this morning. We'll let you meet them right after this. Thank you, Don. I'm going to bring those two in.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Here at Town & Country, we are proud to be an American.
We've had you covered on the inside since 2005, and with our addition of Southern Grill and Patio, we now have you covered on the outside. Come see our great selection, where we make sure grilling and relaxing go hand in hand.
Did you know at Wiley Sanders Truck Line that we offer Blue Cross Blue Shield, we offer dental, we offer disability, we offer vision, we offer life insurance, cancer insurance. We also have a 401k where we match up to 4%, dollar per dollar up to 4%. We also have automatic trucks at Wiley Sanders Truck Line. If you go to a truck driving school, we'll reimburse you. And don't forget about the $1,000 sign-on bonus. Money! Wiley Sanders Truck Line, Troy, Alabama. Wiley Sanders Truck Line. We help you save for your future.
The new Smokehouse Pizza from Little Caesars is our first pizza with 3 smoked meats. So we got barbecue champion Big Mo Quezon to test it out. 8-hour smoked brisket.
Certified beefified.
10-hour smoked pulled pork.
Certified hoggified.
Applewood smoked bacon.
Certified baconfied.
Drizzled with tangy barbecue sauce plus a Smokehouse seasoned crust.
Certified smokified.
The new Smokehouse Pizza. Only $9 and only at Little Caesars.
Pizza. Napa know-how.
Here's some Napa know-how for you. Your local Napa Auto Parts store in Troy is under new ownership with an all-new fully stocked store. Big deal, you say? Big deal, we say. Like the ownership, the store has a new look, too. We're still delivering the same Napa quality and know-how, but we've increased our inventory and are committed to helping you find the parts you need when you need them. So come check us out. We've got the right part at the right price at the right time.
Know-how. Napa know-how.
You don't look like you're awake. Back to our show, ladies and gentlemen, and of course we appreciate Kyle George with the Troy University coming by, and of course Ginger Nowling, also a regular member of our show, and we appreciate her. But ladies and gentlemen, something very close to my heart is the Johnny Till Award, and of course it's in remembrance of Johnny Till, my very good friend that I grew up with, that played quarterback on the football team, played guard on the basketball team, played a shortstop on the baseball team. Great athlete, great competitor, always played with great inspiration and courage. And of course, we lost Johnny Till back in 1966 to an automobile accident. He was in an accident with 2 others of my classmates, Johnny Helton and Dennis McGlon, and it was a tragic thing at that time. But, you know, when you lose a loved one or a great friend, the most important thing I think that we can do for that person that we love so much and cared about so much was keep their name alive. And that's something we have done. Former teammates and I have put together a Johnny Till Award. It's over 25 years old now, and for the last 25 to 30 years, the name Johnny Till is well known. It was well known to you going in, well known to you going in.
Yes, sir.
But we have kept his name alive by giving this scholarship to Charles Henderson High School each year. And to me, it's the coveted Johnny Till Award. That's given to the top female and male athlete who have demonstrated the great leadership, the great courage that it takes to be an outstanding leader. And of course, the recipients are our good friend Cindy Armstrong and Noah Lowry, and congratulations.
Thank you so very much for this.
You were sitting there, and both of you won a lot of awards last night, and congratulations. And I was telling somebody last night, it was as well done, and I was very proud of this. It was so organized and so well done, but it still took 2.5 hours.
I don't think there's any way to get around it, Mr. Mike.
And you had to have a wheelbarrow, and you had to have a wheelbarrow to get out of the place. Noah, congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. Mike.
And of course, Sydney, congratulations to you. And
Thank you.
I've watched both of you grow up.
Yes,
and
sir.
of course, your granddad is my preacher,
Yes, sir.
Mac Lowry, and he wasn't there last night,
No,
was he?
he wasn't.
I was hoping he would. I should have got on the phone because he and your grandmama would have enjoyed that.
They would have.
But of course, when the Teal Award is given away every year. Of course, a wonderful plaque here, and let me just compliment Douglas Brothers. They do the plaque every year, and what a beautiful plaque it is. And of course, you can put it on your wall, and
Yes, sir.
for the rest of your life, for your grandchildren. Well, hey, I was the top athlete at Charles Henderson High School.
Yes,
and
sir.
of course, there was a lot of other good athletes out there, and it's not an easy thing to do is to nominate just two, but y'all did stand out. Tell us about your background a little bit.
I've been at Charles Henderson since pre-K. I play softball and I cheer at Charles Henderson High School.
Tell them who your parents are. Got to do that.
My parents are Neil and Michelle Armstrong. My mom taught at the high school for years. They're both graduates of Charles Henderson High School.
Now tell them who your granddaddy is.
It's Coach Glenn Daniel out of Laverne.
And of course, one of the great people, one of the great coaches of all time in this state. And for several years, he was the winningest high school football coach in Alabama. He's still second or third, I don't know exactly.
Yes,
but
sir.
The name of Glenn Daniels, and they could give a Glenn Daniel Award to the top, not only the top athlete, but one of the top Christian athletes that you'll find. Your daddy's as well known as a Sunday school teacher as he is a football coach. your
Yes,
granddaddy.
he is.
Have you ever heard that? Did anybody say
Yes,
that?
sir, all the time.
And of course, I know you're proud of him, and he's
I
still. I bet he's watching this morning.
Probably so. I'll probably get a call later this afternoon. Hey, I saw you this morning.
Have you ever
So-
sat down and just talked to him and to try to grab as much of that wisdom
as you
as
can,
you
yes,
could just
sir.
pour into your brain?
Yes, sir. He knows every little fact about every
Yeah.
little thing.
But he's a caring person and
He
a great
is.
individual, and I know this is a great honor for you
It
to
is.
represent him and his family with the Johnny Teal Award, and of course we're awfully tickled that we have the two candidates or the two winners today on our show. Noah, tell us a little bit about you. First of all, tell us who your parents are and who your grandparents are.
My parents are Wally and Holly Lowry, and then my grandparents are Mac and Jerry Lowry.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do in a minute? I'm going to get my guy there. When we get people that look like they're falling asleep, we pour a pail of water on him. And there it is, right behind him. He's having a hard time. I know y'all celebrated a little bit last night, I'm sure. I can see it in your daddy's face. I said, will they come on our show this morning? And he looked at me sort of strange because I'm sure it was sort of a happy moment. Y'all were out late last night, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But you were doing the right thing, though, wasn't you?
Right.
Always.
Now, of course, tell them who your grandparents are.
Oh, Mac and Jerry Lowry.
And, of course, Mac Lowry, the pastor of the Calvary Baptist Church, and I go to that church, and I love it very much, and I love him as a pastor. I'm sure he, like Sydney's granddad, it's been an inspiration to you.
My granddaddy, he's everything I could ask for and more. He's my best friend, my mentor, and my granddad. I love that man.
Well, you were an outstanding athlete, a very good quarterback, 3 or 4 inches taller. No, but I mean, this is the truth.
Yes, sir.
3 or 4 inches taller, you would have been a big-time quarterback. I thought you had a big-time arm.
Thank you, Mr. Mike. Yeah.
I mean, tell us about your high school career, real quick.
Well, I played.
You're a very good baseball player.
I played football and baseball, and played on varsity. Started as 3 years in football, and played 3 years on varsity baseball team.
And of course, played for some good coaches.
Yes, sir,
and,
I did.
And experienced a lot of great memories. Is that
Yes,
right?
sir. Coach McCoy, and played for him all 4 years, and I had 6 different coaches in baseball,
Yeah.
but they all.
Well, I
they
tell
all
you
touched
what,
me
you had a
well.
great senior year.
Yes, sir. I
Your
did.
stats were impressive.
It was up and down for sure, but we ended up coming on strong towards the end of the year,
Yeah.
and it was a good year for us.
Tell us your plans for the future.
I'm gonna go to Troy University, and my plan as of right now is to be a football coach one day.
Wonderful. Hey,
Yes, sir.
see if you work with them. You might could be a student coach.
Yeah,
you
that's
never
that's
can
the
tell.
plan right now. I met with me and her actually met with Brian Bennett a couple weeks
Isn't that
ago.
great?
Yeah.
And yeah, we're gonna come on during the summer. And I'm gonna try to be a student coach. Obviously, I'm gonna have to work
Hey,
my way up.
that's the way you do it.
Yes,
A
sir.
lot of
I
people
look
have done it
forward to
that
it.
way and everything. And Sydney, tell us a little bit about your athletic career. Of course, you played on some good softball teams. And
I did.
Of course, you played in the summers. Softball's been a big part of your life, hasn't it?
It has a very big part of my life through the summers and springs at Charles
And of
Henderson.
course, you were a catcher. Is that right?
I could play most anywhere, but yes,
And-
sir, I do catch.
Now, I felt like, and I think a lot of people would feel like, that you could play in college, but is it just sort of time? It's sort of like a lot of people tell me that it might be time to hang it up.
Yeah, it's just time to move on
Yeah.
to a different perspective of life.
No, I hope that when you were able to come home and watch your games on TV and so forth, that you got fired up listening to me play, call the play-by-play.
For sure. I always look forward to watting that on Saturday morning.
And we wanted to let everybody know that we were proud of the guys that were working so hard to be a football player. There's no question in your mind that those kids worked hard.
They did every game.
And you are an outstanding cheerleader on some very good cheerleader groups. And
Yes, sir.
Of course, your mama was an All-American coach. Tell us about her.
She won many of championships as a cheerleader and as a coach at Charles
How many years did she teach cheerleading?
I have not a clue. Over 20.
Over 20 exactly. And of course, she teaches now at Troy University.
She does.
Followed in her mama's footsteps.
She did.
Did she teach math?
She does.
Are you going to teach math?
No, sir, I'm not.
And wait a minute. But now Glenn Daniel, though, he was noted for his ability to teach history, wasn't he?
Yes,
he wasn't the math guy, but he was a
No.
history guy. He probably would have been a good math teacher, though.
Probably
wouldn't
would have if them two are.
he? How proud are you to be a Trojan?
Very proud.
Aren't you proud that you live in Troy, Alabama?
Oh yeah, it's everything I could imagine.
I mean, and of course, could go to a Charles Henderson High School and then go out in life just like that. I almost got emotional watching the Booth girl. I call her the Booth girl, but she's now married to the Curtis guy.
Oh, yes,
you know,
sir.
in Birmingham, they've been both successful. You know, she's a teacher, just retired from Mountain Brook High School, I think, in Birmingham.
Yes,
and
sir.
she comes back, and she and her husband give out a scholarship,
Yes, sir.
$1,500 scholarship.
Yes, to one of our good friends.
That's what I'm talking about, giving back.
Oh yeah.
Giving back, and I was so tickled. But she's proud of being a Trojan as much now, living in
She was
Birmingham,
then.
Mountain
Oh,
Brook,
yeah, for sure.
probably one of the top places to live in the country. That she's still an orange and blue Trojan.
Yes, sir.
Right, that's
for
right.
Sure.
And that's why last night the first thing I had to say was, "How about them Trojans?" And that's the way I look at it. And we're all Trojans, 1 and 1. Isn't that right?
Yes,
Right.
sir.
And you're, of course, now your plans now for your education. What's your plan?
We're both going to Troy University. I really not sure what I'm going to major in yet, but we'll
Well, there's
figure
no
it out on
reason.
the way.
There's no reason to make that decision yet. It's still a lot of things you need to decide on in your life and whatever. And
Yes, sir.
it's no real need. Everybody says, "What you going to?" You're not ready to
Yeah.
decide that.
No,
unless
not
you
yet.
Do you want to go to? You want to be a doctor?
Not a doctor.
You want to be a brain surgeon?
I wish. That'd
What
be
do you
really
What do you
cool.
want to be when you grow up, Noah?
Football coach.
But that's right.
Yes,
See,
sir.
and I think you'll be a good one. You know a lot of football.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it.
It's going to be a lot of fun. And again, congratulations.
Thank you so very
And
much.
thank you so much for coming on
Oh, yes,
this
sir.
morning. And hey, for being on our show, a free breakfast in downtown Troy at Bird Drugs.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
One
Thank
of
you
my
so
favorite
much.
places. So they are waiting for you.
Looking forward to it.
And we'll be back. And ladies and gentlemen, we've got quite a unique guest. And what he specializes in is stopping blood flow. Is that right? And we've got this is going to be a very educational segment of our show. So make sure you get your pen and a pencil ready. That you do this, you don't do that. You do this, you don't do that. We'll be right back.
Life is hectic enough without worrying if your lights will stay on or if there's hot water for your child's bath. So count on natural gas to keep the energy flowing, even when the weather is unpredictable. Natural gas is always there to keep your home warm, showers hot, and food cooked to perfection. That's why America has relied on safe and affordable natural gas for more than 150 years. And we will be here for you and future generations too. You can count on natural gas from Southeast Alabama Gas District.
Troy Cable Security Wi-Fi doorbell camera allows you to answer the door from your smartphone when you are at home, at work, or on the go. When a visitor presses the button, Troy Cable Security sends a live video feed to your smartphone so you can see, hear, and speak to the person at your door. With the doorbell camera, you can have your porch light turn on automatically when it detects motion at night to create the appearance that someone is at home. You can view video clips so you can always know who stopped by when you are out. Troy Cable Security. You love them, protect them.
Did you know at Wiley Sanders Truck Line that we offer Blue Cross Blue Shield, we offer dental, we offer disability, we offer vision, we offer life insurance, cancer insurance. We also have a 401k where we match up to 4%, dollar per dollar up to 4%. We also have automatic trucks at Wiley Sanders Truck Line. If you go to a truck driving school, we'll reimburse you. And don't forget about the $1,000 sign-on bonus. Money! Wiley Sanders Truck Line, Troy, Alabama. Wiley Sanders Truck Line. We help you save for your future.
Have you seen an increase in your insurance premiums or significant change in your insurance coverage? Let Sandbeck Insurance offer you a better plan to suit your business or personal needs. Sandbeck Insurance offers many lines of insurance, whether it's home, farm, or auto insurance, work comp, business, or health and life policies. Sandbeck is here for you. Call or visit our Troy, Enterprise, or Andalusia office today. Sandbeck Insurance, where we take pride in taking care of your insurance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Here at Town & Country, we are proud to be an American.
We've had you covered on the inside since 2005, and with our addition of Southern Grill and Patio, we now have you covered on the outside. Come see our great selection, where we make sure grilling and relaxing go hand in hand.
Here's some Napa know-how for you. Your local Napa Auto Parts store in Troy is under new ownership with an all-new fully stocked store. Big deal, you say? Big deal, we say. Like the ownership, the store has a new look, too. We're still delivering the same Napa quality and know-how, but we've increased our inventory and are committed to helping you find the parts you need when you need them. So come check us out. We've got the right part at the right price at the right time.
Know-how, Napa know-how.
If you've had an accident or just want a new look for your vehicle, come see us at Troy Paint and Body, where we do it right the first time. Our staff has more than 100 years combined experience and can handle repairs and paint work on any make or model. We also offer a lifetime guarantee as long as you own your vehicle. Now that shows we stand behind our work. And our 24-hour towing service means we're here when you need us. So come see us at Troy Paint and Body, located on South Brundage Street in Troy beside the post office. Troy Paint and Body, where we may meet by accident, but you'll be glad we did.
The new Smokehouse Pizza from Little.
Sure. Special Olympics. Back to our show. Jacob Fanning has joined us, and we've got a great show for you. We're going to talk about how you stop bleeding, and it can be the difference in life and death. Isn't that right?
Absolutely.
And we're going to be talking about that in a minute. I want to mention quickly, though, Special Olympics going on this weekend, and you want to volunteer for that. They need volunteers for Special Olympics. Also, we still got more football action. Goshen won big over Pleasant Home last night in their game, played yesterday before the rains. Luverne and Hopeville were rained out. Tonight, or this afternoon, you got Greenville and Chattahoochee High School of Fort Walton at 3, and the Enterprise Wildcats at 6 o'clock tonight against Stanhope Elmore, and a triple header on Saturday. You've got 11:30 Wetumpka against Robert E. Lee of Montgomery. At 3 o'clock, Opelika against Niceville, Florida, Mike. And 6 o'clock, your Hoover Buccaneers against Brookwood, Georgia. They say this team from Brookwood is really, really good.
Yeah, if you want to see a lot of future college players, you go watch Hoover and Brookwood. That'll be a big game to watch.
And it's all sponsored by Troy Cablevision. It's called the 2018 Troy Cable Spring Football Classic.
How did Charles Henderson do against Early County?
They won 7-3, but it was a real good ball game, and they played the junior varsity the second half. Mike, listening to our program, ladies and gentlemen, we got a special treat, something that I think is very important to all of you out there, whether or not you're watching from Shanghai or Paris, France this morning on Facebook. We're going to talk to you about how you can save people's lives and tactics to use and tactics not to use in a emergency situation. And my good friend Jacob Fanning, I've known him all his life. I knew him when he didn't have a beard.
That's right.
And Jacob, quickly tell everybody a little bit about you and how you got involved in this.
Sure. So about 6 or 7 years ago, I started up a business called Shady Grove Tactical.
Shady Grove Tactical. He's from downtown Shady Grove.
Right, all the Fannings being from Shady Grove, it just seemed like a natural fit for the name. And I started teaching defensive firearms tactics in Shady Grove out there on a piece of property, and did well at that. Had a lot of fun. And then I started teaching CPR and first aid, and realized that that's really what my niche was, and I just really enjoyed teaching it. So I've transitioned totally to that. And then I started teaching Stop the Bleed and offering that to the public. And now I'm the state coordinator for the National Stop the Bleed Initiative, and I also sit on the national board of directors for Stop the Bleed.
Now you go into schools, is that right?
I go into schools, churches, businesses, whoever will have it.
And this is information that you need to know. In fact, if you need to copy this this morning, this tape, because this is could save you, or it could save your child's life or your friend's life.
Sure.
And it's
or your own.
Or your own,
right.
And it's happened. It's been proven over and over again.
Hundreds of thousands of times.
All right, I'm gonna let you take over and we'll tell us how we can stop. We'll do your program.
So let me give you some background very quickly on where this came from. Stop the Bleed was born after the Sandy Hook shooting in 2012. After that shooting, a large group of...
What shooting was that?
The Sandy Hook elementary school shooting in Connecticut.
Okay, in Connecticut. I remember that well, yeah.
Right. And after that shooting, a large group of subject matter experts got together and decided that if we can stop preventable death on the battlefield, why can we not translate that to the civilian market? Currently in America, the leading cause of death between the ages of 4 and 45 is trauma, and over 20% of that number are preventable with bleeding control.
Define trauma.
So when I say trauma, I mean some type of mechanism of injury, so to speak, where an individual has been is losing a lot of blood or has been involved in some type of traumatic incident. And I'm referring to things like gunshot wounds, stab wounds, motor vehicle accidents, chainsaw accidents, industrial accidents, farming accidents, things like that, that do a lot of damage to the body in a very short period of time, sometimes just a few seconds. So trauma is the leading cause of death between the ages of 4 and 45, and over 20% of that could be, or over 20% of those death rates could be prevented with proper bleeding control.
Right.
That's about 400,000 people a year in America that die because they bleed to death, and that's
before the ambulance and the
exactly
you get there, and there's a time period between there. If somebody don't do something, he's gonna bleed to death before they get there.
Absolutely,
is that right?
And that's what's called the trauma gap. You hit the nail on the head. So there's been a term coined called the trauma gap, and that is exactly what you just described. From the time the incident occurs to the time that the EMS can actually make contact with the patient, that's the gap where people are dying. Okay. The average body has about 4.5 liters of blood, which is about 1.5 gallons. You can lose around 2 liters of blood, and you start circling the drain. You go into hypovolemic shock, and you die. So that can happen within 2 to 3 minutes or less.
And then another thing, and that word is scared to death.
Right.
Panic.
Right. And unfortunately, what happens is people can console the patient, people can call 911, but they don't know what to do with this life-threatening amount of blood leaving the body. If it is on an arm or a leg, that's where a tourniquet comes into play. If you identify a life-threatening bleed from an arm or a leg, and statistically speaking, that's where over 80% of that occurs from, so tourniquets are the way to go. If it's in a junctional area of the body, like the neck, the shoulders, the armpits, the groin, you want a wound pack, and that's where something like this gauze comes into play.
Pressure.
Pressure. All right. Pressure is always the first line of defense, because if you're bleeding, I can always put pressure on whatever part of the body the blood's coming from. That's common sense. You're right.
Yeah.
However, if it is a life-threatening bleed, pressure is not going to cut it. You're going to have to go up to a more serious level of care, and that's going to be either a tourniquet application, wound packing, trauma dressing, or something like that, or a combination of those.
All right,
guys.
go ahead and show us some of this, some of these,
So,
some of the things that can happen.
Sure.
Now this right here is did you invent this?
No. I wish. I'd be very rich.
Yeah.
No, this is a CAT tourniquet, or combat application tourniquet.
People need to be able to buy one of these and have it in your car and in your home.
Correct.
Is that right?
You can buy these kits that have all this stuff in it. These kits, Stop the Bleed kit, depending on where you buy it from, retails from anywhere between $50 and $75. You can buy one from Drum Emergency Solutions, North American Rescue. There's lots of reputable vendors out there where you
and
can
hopefully
buy this
it'll be easier to do than that, because these things right here can save your life. Go ahead and tell us.
Yes. So how this works is this is a combat application tourniquet. This is what's issued to military and law enforcement, and also available to the civilian market. This just happens to be the most combat-proven tourniquet on the planet.
Now, if you need to use me as an example,
I'll use my arm.
Okay.
I'll use my arm. So the way this works is, let's say that I identify a life-threatening bleed from this arm. So first, let's talk very quickly about how to identify what is a life-threatening bleed.
Sure.
So bright red blood leaving the body at a high rate of speed, that would be life-threatening. If all of your clothes are soaked in blood, that's a life-threatening problem. I need to find the source of it and attack it. If you approach a patient and you see a large halo of blood around their body, that's a life-threatening problem. You need to find the source and attack it. If you apply a trauma dressing, like what's on this mannequin here, if you apply something like that and it bleeds back through, that's a life-threatening bleed. You need to find some other way to fix it, and most likely will be a tourniquet if it's on an extremity. So those are the core ways to identify.
Let me mention something, and ladies and gentlemen, this has not been pre-recorded. It's just coming out of my knowledge of things. I've been told over the years about when you apply a tourniquet, you're risking a limb for a life.
That's right.
Is that
so that is
not true anymore?
That is a medical myth.
A terrible medical myth.
Terrible
because everybody says,
right.
Well, if you wrap that thing around his leg,
it's going to lose the limb.
He's going to lose his limb, but it'll save his life.
Right. That is a medical myth. Now, let me clarify that. Okay, there have been no amputations as a result of tourniquet application in Iraq, Afghanistan, or America in the last 15 years documented.
Isn't that unreal?
Hundreds of thousands of tourniquets have been applied, and no amputations have been associated with tourniquet application. However, now don't misunderstand me. Have there been amputations due to trauma? Yes, but the tourniquet was not the cause of the amputation, if that makes sense. The tourniquet may be the reason you live to tell about it.
Exactly.
That's the difference. So we apply the tourniquet first, we ask questions later.
Exactly.
If you suspect a life-threatening bleed, put a tourniquet on the limb. We don't recommend that people try to MacGyver or create some kind of homemade tourniquet. The wider the better. Electrical cords and stuff like that, not a good idea. Belts, not a good idea. The vast majority of improvised tourniquets fail. Tourniquets should be self-sufficient. So that absolutely is a medical myth, and thank you for bringing it up.
Okay, show me that again. Now this right here controls the blood flow, doesn't it?
That controls the constriction of the tourniquet. So let's look at how we put that on. So we're going to put the tourniquet as high on the limb as we can get it without being on a joint. If we put it on a joint, it will fail. So we grab the red tip here, and this particular tourniquet is just constructed of Velcro and nylon. We pull all the slack out. That's where the number one mistake in tourniquet application is. You want to pull all the slack out and lay the tail.
You want it as tight as you can get.
You want it as tight as you can get it right off the bat. So I'm gonna lay the self-adhesive band back down on itself here. I'm gonna take the windlass, which is this stick here in the center, and that's where I'm actually gonna start cranking down and cut off the blood flow. So you would turn the windlass until the bleeding stops.
So when that stops the bleeding, you just saved his life.
At that point, there's no more blood flow in or out of this extremity.
Don't you agree? You pretty much have saved his life.
You've stopped the blood flow. You've potentially saved this person's life. Sure. So we want to tuck the tail, because if we don't tuck the tail, it might get caught on something or rip free.
Well, that's a wonderful piece of equipment.
And then we want to close the gate, and that's it. And I'm done. So now I have no radial pulse here on this limb. all the blood flow in and out of this extremity has been stopped. In just a moment, you'll start to see what's called a powdering effect, which is where this limb starts losing its color because there is no more blood flow in or out of the extremity. So now another thing we want to discuss about that, a lot of people are very concerned about how long can a tourniquet be in place. A tourniquet can safely be in place for 6 to 8 hours with no long-term effect.
So you ought to be able to have plenty of time to get to the hospital.
You have more than enough time. And just so everybody is clear on this, the only person who should be removing a tourniquet under normal circumstances would be a doctor.
Yeah.
Life Flight doesn't remove them. The police, the firemen don't remove them. Once a tourniquet's in place, it's in concrete, so to speak. The only person who should be removing a tourniquet is a doctor or a physician in an emergency department. With the exception of if you're on the side of a mountain hiking somewhere and it's going to be 16 plus hours before a rescue team can get to you, then we need to be thinking about other options. Otherwise, they stay in place.
All right, now that right there is simple, that below here, but what if it was something in your neck, around your jugular, or
so
what would you do about that?
So let's talk about those junctional areas of the body. All right, so for those areas of the body, let me get this out of the way. For those areas of the body that are what we consider a junctional wound, you would want to, like this right here is a good example. This is a gunshot in a box.
A gunshot in a box.
Show it to the camera there, right? And,
I got you.
And this has a hose. This has a hose that I can hook to a bag full of fake blood. When I'm teaching the class, we actually push fake blood through here, so the students can actually physically fight that blood flow. So this is a very, very good teaching tool. So there's gauze out on the market.
This is a gunshot wound.
Right. This would mimic an exit wound from a gunshot. Right. So there's gauze out on the market. It is available without prescription, just like any of this stuff's available on the internet and through retail. So this is called hemostatic gauze. This gauze is impregnated with a product that works with the body's natural clotting factors to create a clot in 3 minutes or less. So what happens is, in those areas like you just referred to,
the clot means it's stopping the blood flow.
It's going to clot up and stop the blood, right? And this just helps the body do that. The problem is with the clotting factors is that there's this thing called the trauma triad of death. You have coagulopathy, hypothermia, and acidosis. So what happens is you start bleeding at a life-threatening rate, and the body starts to try to compensate, but it has trouble doing that because the body temperature decreases, acidosis increases, the respiratory rate tries to compensate by increasing due to the lack of oxygen. And I have to remind people, what does blood carry? Glucose, heat, and oxygen. So as you lose these things, your coagulopathy or your ability to create a clot decreases, which means the free bleeding increases. So it's a vicious cycle. So we have to take, like, for example, in the junctional areas, the neck, the shoulders, the armpits, the groin, we have to take the fix down into the problem. So let's look at that.
And keep the pressure on. Now, if you didn't have this, would you want a roll of toilet tissue
let me tell you something.
a t-shirt?
I don't recommend people improvise a tourniquet, but you can improvise with wound packing. You can.
Yeah.
Because if I don't have this kind of gauze, I can go grab a roll of paper towels and do a wonder. And do a lot of work.
Keep that pressure on.
You stuff that right. So let's look at this exit wound here. So what I'm literally going to do is I'm literally going to wound pack. And pack this entire wound cavity.
Pack the whole
I'm going to pack the whole thing. And this would represent something like...
So you're going into the bullet hole?
I'm going into the hole.
The outer part or the inner part?
Either or maybe potentially both. It just depends on what's bleeding.
Because both of them will be bleeding, wouldn't it?
Right. So you might need to pack both, if it's an entry and exit. It just depends on the circumstances. But the key here is to remember is that if it's in a junctional area of the body, like the neck, the shoulders, the armpits, the groin, those are areas where we traditionally cannot put a tourniquet. So how else would we get that bleeding fixed? We have to take the solution down into the problem. So we're going to wound pack this thing completely full, or as full as we can get it with gauze. Any excess we would pile on top. We would hold direct pressure for 3 to 5 minutes or however long until we see that bleeding has been stopped, and then apply some sort of trauma dressing or evacuate the patient.
So just stick it in there until it stops bleeding.
You wound pack that thing as tight and as full as you can get it, and then you.
If you don't have that, a T-shirt or just
roll of paper towels, some rags. I mean, just whatever you can find.
Anything to pack.
You get down into and the problem is
that strictly on a bullet hole or any type?
No, this would be any kind of penetrating trauma or laceration.
Somebody knife stab
into the neck, the shoulders, the armpits, the groin. Because remember, you would wound pack these areas where you cannot get a tourniquet, and that would be in these junctional areas where our limbs meet up. So you have to remember, and this hose represents the artery.
Yeah.
The hose runs up underneath here into this wound cavity.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do by wound packing is physically place pressure on that artery that's bleeding and allow this gauze to have something for it to clot on.
Exactly. All right, when all of this is happening, all the wounds below the neck, all this is happening, where should the head be?
Well,
should it be elevated, or
you know, that's going to be situationally dependent. You may not be able to control that.
Yeah.
You know, when you're treating shock, it is recommended if the patient's in shock that you lift the legs. However, if the patient has a lot of trauma to the upper torso, I'd be cautious of lifting the legs because you're going to push some of that.
Choke them out.
You're going to push some of that blood back into the core, which they may need depending on the level of shock that they're in.
Yeah. But,
and that's another thing to consider also is their airway. People who have lost, you know, a life-threatening amount of blood will have an altered mental status, will have a compromised respiratory rate, and so after you have stopped all the bleeding, if there's nothing else to treat on that patient, then you might want to consider rolling them into what's called the recovery position so they can maintain their own airway.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jacob Fanning is with us, and he owns a business that is quite unique to Pike County, and I'm so glad that we have a guy like you that can address all of these emergency needs. And we've got an extra 15 minutes, isn't that right, Scott? Extra 15 minutes time, so we've got plenty of time to show this program and learn a lot about what's going on. Already, people are finding out that that old saying, a tourniquet will provide a limb for life.
Right, you're not going to lose it. If you lose the limb, it won't be the tourniquet's fault.
Yeah.
Right. And one other thing I want to mention, there's several other things.
We got plenty of time.
Through Shady Grove Tactical, I offer CPR, basic life support, just basic first aid like American Heart Association, Red Cross, and then I also, of course, teach Stop the Bleed. I would highly recommend to anybody out there watching or listening that if you have a church security team, you need to incorporate some sort of advanced first aid into your church security team. Unfortunately, the kind of the general consensus that I run into as far as church teams are concerned is they'll say, I'll ask them, okay, well, you've got all your bases covered. What are you going to do if there's an active shooter? And when the dust settles, what are you going to do with the people bleeding? And they say, well, we're just going to put the nurses on the team. Well, unfortunately, you know, and I know lots and lots of nurses, but unfortunately, this is not something nurses have a lot of hands-on time with, if any at all. And so those nurses and those church security team members need this training. So I would highly recommend that they consider incorporating Stop the Bleed into their church security team, or just into the general church population. And that includes you know, businesses. It doesn't necessarily have to be churches. Understand this too. Stop the Bleed was originally intended for teachers. That's who it was originally intended for, and now it's open to anybody and everybody.
Exactly.
So I have phone calls all the time from teachers saying we want this in the schools, but of course it's an administrative and a budget issue getting that in. But I am scheduled to go teach this to a large group of teachers in Crenshaw County in the very near future.
That's wonderful.
So they're going to get that training. I teach it on a regular basis to the general public and to churches and things like that.
All right, let's talk. Go back with the tourniquet a minute.
Sure.
All right, let's talk about how far we've gone so far. All right, this is a tourniquet piece of equipment that. How long has this been out?
This piece of equipment has been around since the early 2000s.
Yeah.
You know,
But it's one of the best inventions ever.
This right here is by far the most proven tourniquet that's ever been made.
All right.
And what's so wild to think about is that in Vietnam,
could have saved a lot of lives, couldn't it?
A vast majority of the deaths that occurred in Vietnam, they perished as a result of life-threatening bleeding, but we didn't know. We were still of the thought process back then that tourniquets would cause them to lose their limb, and we were still using Civil War era pain management.
Just think about all those wars, how many people lives they would have saved.
Been saved with a tool like this.
And especially, you know, legs, being hit in the legs.
Right, and losing portions of limbs from bombs and IEDs and things. And so the military was experimenting with tourniquets at that time, and even prior to that, even in the Civil War, they experimented with tourniquets, but they just never got, you know, the right mixture. And but this right here has been found to be the most
All right, if
prevalent
you
on the
don't
market.
have this, what is it? How about your belt? Can
Okay.
you do anything with your belt?
The problem with improvising a tourniquet is that a tourniquet needs to be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
A tourniquet needs to be able to, you need to be able to apply a tourniquet and let go of it, and it stand alone.
Exactly.
So the problem is that if I apply my belt around my arm and I pull the slack out of it, then what?
Yeah.
Well, now I've got to hold this thing,
That's
try
right.
to hold a belt on. Well, that's not going to work because not only is it not going to be tight enough, but as soon as I let it go, it's going to fall apart.
Let's
so it's
say
just not a good idea.
that you came up on a car wreck, and I'm sitting like a person in a wreck, and I've got my safety, seatbelt on and all that, but I'm bleeding profusely. What I do there, let's just say I have a upper leg wound right here. You try to get the tourniquet in.
I would just simply open the tourniquet up, right, and just feed this underneath your leg. I would go as high on the limb as I can get it, and that's a lot of people have misconceptions about tourniquet placement.
To put it.
Right, about tourniquet placement. So that's a good point. So let's talk about that. Remember earlier when I put this tourniquet on my arm, I mentioned as high on the limb as you can get it without being on a joint.
Exactly.
If you put a tourniquet on a joint, it will fail, and I'll give you a visual example of that.
Yeah.
So I'll put the tourniquet on my shoulder, and
it's not stopping any blood flow.
It falls off because as soon as you move, those joints start to move, and the tourniquet fails. So you always want to put a tourniquet, preferably as high on the limb as you can get it without being on a joint. And stop the blood flow to the entire extremity.
Of course, you want to have one of these gadgets, and of course, like you said,
and these are $29.99.
$29.99,
Yes,
and again, how can you get one of these?
You can go to drumemergencysolutions.com. I know that's emergencysolutions.com. I know that's a mouthful.
Why don't they sell these in Walmart?
Well, I wish they did, but they don't, and I don't know why. That's a good question, and you might eventually
what
see
I'm
that.
saying, why don't you come up and change it a little bit and have your own device?
I would love to.
We'll call it the
money.
The fanning
tourniquet.
But let me just tell you this, and of course, tell me, Arch, you can use it where to stop blood that's the injuries in your arm or in your leg, all the way back up to
all the way up into that thigh,
up into your groin almost.
That's right.
Is that right?
Exactly. You want to go as high on the limb as you can.
Because it could be, you could bleed to death in a hurry if you don't stop that.
Right. Absolutely. And you can bleed to death in 2 to 3 minutes or less, depending on the mechanism of injury or depending on the medication the person's on.
All right. Let's say I'm sitting. Here it is. I'm sitting unconscious in that car seat, and you run down to the car deal, and here he is bleeding profusely. You take that sponge and you go ahead and just stop it that.
I would. Yeah, if it's somewhere in the stomach or like a large open wound in the leg, if it's something on the arm or the leg, it's going to be tourniquet first and then wound.
Now the tourniquet is no way to do the tourniquet across your mid-body, so you're going to have pressure here.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct. Any kind of penetrating trauma to the upper thoracic cavity or the abdominal cavity, we want to put a chest
if
seal
it's a
on.
Gunshot wound or a car accident or whatever.
Any kind of penetrating trauma to the chest, the back, the rib cage, we want to put an occlusive dressing on. And I sell this kit here. This is the Shady Grove Tactical Pocket Kit, and inside of this kit is a chest seal for penetrating trauma. You would put that chest seal over a hole in the chest, and it would prevent.
And you would need this at home in your glove compartment, 2 or 3 of them. You probably would need 2 or 3 of them because once it fills up with blood, you would like to be able to.
Well, this kit has a tourniquet in it. It
does have a tourniquet.
It has this quick clot combat gauze in it, and it has a chest seal in it for penetrating trauma.
All right, now how much does this cost?
That's $55.
$55 for one of these, but it could save your life. Hey, nothing's too much. Too much if it'll save your life.
I told somebody not long ago how much my kit cost, and they kind of gasped, and I said, "Listen, you'll spend more than that eating out this weekend."
Oh yeah, no question. Now, of course, there's a lot of things we can talk about, but before we get off this.
Sure.
Leg injuries, you can have it as high up your hip as you want it.
Right. You want to put the tourniquet as high, same on the arm.
And
tourniquet as
high as you can
control
it better that way.
Lock that tourniquet down. If it's in the neck, the shoulders, the armpits, or the groin, you want to wound pack it with this gauze. If it is penetrating trauma like a gunshot, a stab wound, maybe a piece of metal goes in you from a car accident, whatever. If it's in the chest or the back or the ribs, you want to cover it with a chest seal like we have in the kit.
And hold it as tight as possible.
Well, the chest seal is basically like for example, I didn't bring one with me, unfortunately, I forgot. But the chest seal basically is like a big sticker,
Yeah, it will stick on you?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It has a hydrogel
Good.
product on it, so you peel it off, you stick it
Yeah.
over the hole, and it sticks to itself, and it allows,
right.
it prevents air from
All right, let's
coming
say
through.
there were two people in the car and they're both injured and
Mhm.
they still got the seatbelts on. You would address them. You could put this guy in a tourniquet here and attach that tourniquet.
Right.
Sort of show me how you lock that tourniquet in. How
Right.
you
So,
lock it.
so the way that happens is you want to pull all the
And you're concerned about just stopping the flow.
right. That's it. So you pull all the slack out.
Yeah.
And lay the tail back down on itself.
Okay, that's very easy to do.
Right. Then you turn the windlass.
Oh, it's very easy
Right.
to do.
So after you turn the windlass and enough to stop the bleed,
Yeah.
you lock it in place here into the clip.
Yeah.
And then you pull this band back over and tuck your tail, and then close the gate, and that's it.
All right, so you got this guy. He's bleeding profusely from his arm.
And we've got it
And he
stopped.
might have some other injuries, but this is the one where the blood is flowing out.
Right.
Is
We've
the
got-
one you need to address first.
First, right. That's the
Okay.
thing. A lot of people worry about, well, is he breathing and all this other
Yeah.
kind of stuff, and that is, of course, very, very important. But the problem is that as long as they're losing blood, they're losing life.
Yeah. Okay, you're stopping this blood bleeding, and this guy's bleeding from his head, got a
Right.
big gash in
All
his
right,
head.
That's where I would go to this.
And you would go
I
there.
would go to this.
And now does he have to hold it
well,
here?
Well, I would get this gauze into it to the best of my ability, and then I would take a trauma dressing of some kind,
Yeah.
or maybe a T-shirt or whatever I could find, and I would dress that wound to hold this gauze in place.
Yeah.
Right.
And of course
You
that
have
was
to,
great.
sometimes you have to think outside the
Yeah,
box and just use what you can
We've
find.
got 15 more minutes, so we're going to go to other links here. Leg injuries the same way. Go ahead and stop the blood
Right.
with a tourniquet.
Right.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Then you can leave this guy and go to try to help somebody else.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct. You on average, and this, of course, now this is always situationally dependent, but on average, it's estimated that you should be able to treat between 2 and 3 people per kit.
Yeah.
Because
okay.
you have to assume that not everybody's going to have the same kind of
Yeah,
wound
exactly.
pattern,
Yeah.
You know. So in other words, you might only need the tourniquet. I might only need the chest
Yeah,
seal.
exactly.
So on average, we tell people, like I have a lot of questions from churches and businesses when they buy Stop the Bleed kits. They say, well, how many do we need per person? And I tell them, on average, you should think 1 kit per 3 people.
All right, now let's just say you bleed from the head. The last thing you want to do is put a tourniquet around your neck.
Right. Now, there are some people who want to put tourniquets
Yeah,
around people.
and they'll choke to death.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah.
But no,
all right, but
you do
again,
not-
we're learning, ladies and gentlemen. We're learning. This is so important. I promise you.
Yeah.
Now, something we hadn't touched on that we deal with, especially this time of year. Snake bites.
Right.
All right. People get the wrong idea about a snake bite. By
tourniquet-
you telling me that you don't have to worry about a limb for life, this is a no-brainer with a snake bite. Is that right?
A tourniquet is no longer recommended for snake bite treatment.
Really?
No, right. No longer.
Just pressure or get to the hospital?
At one point in time, it was a recommendation.
Yeah.
It is no longer recommended in the layperson pre-hospital setting.
Okay.
So now what the current recommendation for snake bite treatment is a ACE wrap and
An ace bandage.
An ACE bandage, right? And preferably a very long one.
Yeah.
And what we want to do is, let's say that, for example, the snake bite was right here on my wrist.
Yeah.
So I'd want to wrap from starting right there.
Right on
and
the bite?
Right on top of the bite. I want to wrap it and then go and continue that wrap all the way up the entire limb.
Tight?
Medium tension. Medium tension.
Yeah.
So what I call, what I call medium tension is where you can pull it up and it has some snap.
Yeah.
You know, the bandage will have a
Yeah.
little snap. Medium tension, wrap the entire limb, put an X on top with a pin, put an X on top where the bite mark is, wherever that may be,
Yeah.
so that you'll know where it's at. And then keep that patient calm. Try not to let them, run around and flail their limbs. Keep that patient calm and a rapid evacuation.
Ladies and gentlemen, this week on the news, it was talking about a guy in South Florida picked up a snake thinking it was a king snake, and it was a coral snake.
And he got bit.
Got
I
bit,
heard
and
about
now
that.
he's paralyzed from his neck down or something
Wow.
like that. I mean, the coral snake is a terrible bite. You don't see. I've never seen a coral snake.
Yeah, I
Have you?
don't think they're prevalent around here.
But
to my
no,
knowledge.
they're supposed to be. They're supposed to be in Alabama.
Well,
a coral snake.
I have never seen
You know,
them.
they say, remember this right now: red on yellow will kill a fella.
Right.
All right, they're different colors: red, yellow, black,
Right. And I
yellow,
think-
whatever.
what's the other
And
saying?
they say red.
Red and yellow kill a fella.
Red and yellow will kill a fella.
And something else is a friend of
Yeah,
Jack.
yeah, but don't take that chance.
You better Google
Don't
that, right?
take that chance. I know everybody says that king snake is great. Don't let.
Right,
hey,
yeah.
every snake to me is a dead snake. Kill a snake. But now again, what if you don't have? What if you don't have an H bandage? What do you do? Take a sock or what?
Man, if I didn't have anything to put on it, by the way, the reason we're putting that Ace wrap on there, just so everybody's clear, is that we're trying to slow down the body's lymphatic response.
Yeah.
And it does a couple of things. It slows down that lymphatic response. It helps with localized swelling and pain management, and it also is a psychological fix too. It makes the patient feel like we've done something for them, which will help calm them down, which is a good thing.
Exactly.
But regardless of whether you have a wrap or something to wrap that wound with or not, you need to be getting that patient evacuated.
Most hospitals have the anti-venom, and they had that.
Right, especially the larger trauma.
It saved
centers,
this man's life, but a lot of the damage was already done.
Right.
With this type of bite now.
I tell people, if you spend a lot of time in the woods, if you spend a lot of time camping, hunting, fishing, on a tractor, bush hogging, all these different things that we do here in the South, if you spend a lot of time away from your vehicle, away from town, away from easy access to EMS, you need to have a good, some sort of trauma kit with you or near you at all times. Right, and it doesn't have to be anything huge. It doesn't have to be a 30-pound bag. It can be something as simple as this in your back pocket. It can be a small, bag with things in it that with tourniquets and hemostatic gauze, maybe some Ace wraps and that, just the bare essentials to get you by.
Yeah, no question.
But a lot of people don't do that, and they really put
the worst thing you can do with a snake bite is after you get bit to run to your car. Don't run to your car.
Right, you need to
because
slow down.
you don't need for that heart to be pumping.
Correct.
Pumping because it's pumping that venom.
It's moving
through
it
your
around.
system.
Right, and
so
you need to
walk
stay
and stay calm and walk.
Exactly.
And if you're with somebody else, try to hold him and make him feel calm and ease on up, get in the car and go to the hospital.
Right, and that's part of that psychological fix also in putting that Ace wrap on, is that it does help the patient feel like, okay, well, we've done something to treat this, so it makes them feel better psychologically.
What if the bite was in a funny part? Like, how many times are you fooling with a boat, or you're fooling with something like that, or you're reaching down in some bushes, where a water moccasin could hit you in the face? What do you do? Get to the hospital?
One of the biggest things I'd be worried about there is the airway.
Yeah.
Is that patient's airway going to get compromised very quickly, potentially because of the swelling?
When do you have to go to? Can you go to this area here? Now I've seen this. I know.
Okay.
I don't want to cut everybody's throat.
No.
But this is your last resort breathing.
Right. That is a surgical cricothyrotomy, and that is.
That needs to be done by a hospital guy.
Well, that would need to be done by somebody that knows what they're doing. The only the true indication for that is when all other airway management attempts have failed. Typically, it would be something like a chemical burn that's caused swelling and damage into the airway, and you can't get any other airway adjunct in place like an ET tube.
All right, we got time. All right, now, so we know now a gunshot wound. Stuff it. If it's a sock, it could be a sock or a sheet or a pillowcase.
Anything that you can get in that hole to stop that bleeding. If you can't get a tourniquet on it, obviously you want to.
And on the back and the front if you need it.
Sure,
then of course you got your tourniquet here, which is wonderful. Let's talk a little bit about heart attacks. Some of the CPR things that you can do.
Sure. So the traditional things that we look for are sweating, difficulty breathing, pain in the upper body, chest, arms, neck, that kind of thing. Men typically present a cardiac event very quickly. Now that's not always the case, but normally men would present very quickly. They're fine 1 minute and they feel like they're about to die the next. Females tend to present over a longer period of time. On Monday they feel like they have heartburn, Tuesday they have upper back pain, on Wednesday they have a heart attack. But that's not always the case, of course. So we look for those normal signs and symptoms. We call 911. If the criteria for making the decision to do CPR, and a lot of people talk themselves out of it, if a person is not breathing or only gasping, they need CPR. That's really what it boils down to. That's the easiest.
But that's only if they're not breathing.
Well, if they're not breathing or only gasping, that means that they're either in cardiac arrest or they're headed in that direction. Obviously your heart can't beat without you breathing, and vice versa. So you can't have one without the other. And there's a lot of people do sometimes overanalyze that situation. If that patient appears to be apneic or have a lack of oxygen in the body, they'll turn a grayish blue color. If that happens and they're not breathing or they're only gasping, they need CPR.
Yeah.
So the way we do CPR and the especially for our circumstances here today is just focus on good quality compressions. Chest compressions are the most important thing about CPR.
More than anything else is
we push hard and fast in the center of the chest. So that's by far.
All right, you know, I said don't push too hard, but
you're looking at about 2 to 2.4 inches into the sternum.
Yeah.
So we need a minimum of 2 inches to compression depth.
All right, the sternum's right here, and the heart's right under the sternum.
The sternum is this bone in the center of your chest, and the heart sits just to the left here. So we want to be dead center of the chest, and a minimum of 2 inches into the sternum. So just remember this: if you have to do CPR, if you think they need it, statistically speaking, they probably do.
But if they're breathing, they don't need it, pretty much, though, do they?
Probably not. If they're still breathing, you need to look for a pulse, and if they're still breathing and they have a pulse, you probably need to just roll that person in the recovery position on their side so they can maintain their own airway. If they want to vomit, it has a clear path of escape, things like that. But if they're not breathing or only gasping, they need CPR. You start with chest compressions. You want to put your hands right dead center of the chest, and start. Just remember, push hard and fast in the center of the chest until help arrives.
Yeah.
That's the easiest way.
So mouth to mouth is not as big a thing anymore.
Well, mouth or rescue breathing is more important for pediatric patients. A little bit less important for adults because we have more oxygenated blood on board than a pediatric.
So you just say this, not as much breathing into their throat mouth, mouth like it used to be.
Pediatric patients are more oxygen dependent, and adults tend to be less over a shorter period of time, of course. But I will tell you this. If it's a loved one, a family member, a good friend, of course you want to try to do mouth to mouth. After you do 30 chest compressions and 2 breaths.
30 and 2 breaths.
30 and 2. That's
so it's changed a lot.
It has changed. It used to be
which I'm glad to see. It's more simplified.
Right. It's more simplified. They want you to focus more on chest compressions and less on breathing. Right. So we focus on good quality chest compressions, pushing hard and fast in the center of the chest, and we would keep that up until help arrives. So 30 and 2, 30 and 2. Yeah. And just remember this now. If you don't have a pocket mask, a mask to breathe on the patient, it's not the end of the world. If you don't have a barrier device, so to speak, just focus on good quality chest compressions. Yeah, exactly. If you do chest compressions only, you'll still increase the long-term survival rate by 47%.
And then when they do react and get their breath, leave them alone.
If you are fortunate enough to see spontaneous response of some kind, then you need to roll that patient over into the recovery position, assist them in their breathing, keep a real close eye on them because they may
What's the worst thing that you can do?
A lot of people worry about cartilage and popping and cracking when they do it. Chances are that's probably cartilage separating from the sternum or inside the intercostal spaces between the ribs. Not a big deal. If you hear, feel, or see some kind of cracking or popping while you're doing CPR, keep doing CPR.
All right, very important. Swimming,
drowning.
Yeah, tell us what you do there.
So we're going to pull the patient out of the water. Obviously, that's going to be the first step, is get them out of that body of water. We need to assess for breathing. If that patient is not breathing, appears to be blue or gray, if they're not breathing or only gasping, then chances are they statistically speaking, they need.
Stay on. Give me a few more X minutes. Go ahead.
Then they need CPR. So we would start CPR. If the patient starts to cough up cough up water from that drowning, then you would roll them over into the recovery position and assist them in clearing that water from their airway so they don't aspirate on it.
But on drown, you would do the same CPR on drowning?
I'm going to do the same everything's going to be the same. And remember
but he's laying on his back, is that right?
You want to lay the patient supine, flat on their back, and focus dead center of the chest. Get in on top of the patient like this, and do compressions from directly on top of the patient. Remember, 2 inches inside of the chest at a rate of 30
compressions. And once water starts coming out of his mouth, what do you do?
Well, at that point, we would need to roll them over and help clear that water out because we don't want that water going back into their airway.
But you pretty much saved his life if you get that water out of there.
Well, you're working in the right direction.
How quickly should you react to a drowning patient?
Immediately.
Because you're talking about brain damage.
Correct. I mean, anytime you're looking at a lack of oxygen, obviously the brain tissue and heart, are dying and losing those oxygenated blood cells.
Exactly.
You can rehab the heart and other muscles, but the brain, unfortunately,
I want you to come back on soon. This has been a great show, show that's very important to all of you out there. It could save your life. It could save one of your family members' life, or a best friend's life, or just a regular person. You need to learn all this.
Thank you very much.
And you need to buy this kit.
Yep.
Right here, and it's just $50. Is that right?
$55 for the Shady Grove Tactical Pocket Kit.
And it could save a life.
All right,
is that right?
Right. And you can put it in the glove compartment of your car, and you put it in your back. I've got one in my back pocket right now. And I recommend that everybody keep one.
All right, how can they reach you to set up a meeting, and you'll come to clubs and organizations? You'll come to Rotary Club or whatever?
I'll come wherever I'm asked to attend, and my number is 268-0296. It's a local number.
Yes, sir.
268-0296. And also, I have a CPR class on the 25th of this month if anybody needs to attend.
Where will that be?
It's at DHR at 5:30 p.m. on the 25th.
On the 25th,
yes,
DHR at 5:15.
That's right.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is information that can save your life, and this kit right here is something that can save your life.
Absolutely.
And, again, we appreciate Jacob Fanning, and hope you'll come back again.
Thank you for having me.
This has been a great show.
Thank you so much.
I hope you've enjoyed our show. I hope you have a great weekend. Be safe out there, and go support those Trojans of Troy. They play a doubleheader against South Alabama today at 3 o'clock. And then, of course, those football games sponsored by Troy Cable. Get out and see some good football this weekend. Have a great weekend, and again, be safe.